guest is. So yeah, it's been a while since I did a video, but you know, life. So we're gonna do these super cute, everything's super cute, I'm sorry. Cakesicles and cake hearts today. They're pink, blush, rose gold, a mix of all the pretties that you could possibly think of. I really, really love this set. I had creative freedom for this one, so I really just went with the colours that they gave me and worked on the styles that I really like. I love the brushstroke effect on these Cakesicles. I love the splatter effect with paint. I think it's such an easy way to give a really nice texture and depth to the design. And I tried to mix the colours up and make sure that they weren't all just, you know, one design for the cake hearts, one design for the Cakesicles. The whole set really streamlines and works together really, really nicely. So we're going to learn how to make these. And if you haven't made them before, try your best and let's just crack on. So we've got our cake heart mould here. So I've linked my favourite one in the description for you. I don't ever put mine in the dishwasher. I always hand wash it, and you need to make sure it's got these little lines on the back as well so that it sits flush on your counter. And I'm wiggling it there for you. These are my favourite oil-based colours. These are for colouring chocolate. You can't use all gel colours with chocolate. They've got to be specific fat dispersible colours. Okay, and I'm just showing you there that I'm using the small Cakesicle sticks, not the large ones. I don't like the way the large ones look. They look really massive coming out of the Cakesicles. And then I'm using a pot of hot water, so obviously be super careful, with my spatulas in. But before you use them, I'm showing you here, you must wipe them. If you don't wipe them, you'll seize your chocolate because you'll get water into the chocolate, and that's really, really important. Okay, and we're also using melted candy melts. You can use normal white chocolate if you want to, but you will need to temper it. I don't, because I hate tempering. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make out that I'm perfect. And if you want to use normal chocolate, please do. Don't come for me. This is my super duper handy dandy tool. That's the thing, right? It's a ball tool. It's an acrylic ball tool. I get asked about this all the time. The company I bought it from don't do it anymore. I can't find the same one anywhere online, but I'll link a really, really similar one for you. I'm just wiping my moulds out now to make sure there's no water spots or anything left behind from the last time I used them. I'm using a clear alcohol because I know that that's okay with my client and it does evaporate off anyway. If you don't want to use a clear alcohol, you could use lemon juice. Just make sure you don't leave any behind. Obviously, it might leave a little bit of a taste. But yeah, using a clear alcohol, and like I say, that'll just evaporate off and leave us a nice shiny surface on our chocolate when we pop them out. I'm going to do the same on my Cakesicle moulds, and there I'm just telling you I'm using two. We're going to fill all of them, but obviously you don't have to. And there again, I don't know why. I'm sorry, I don't know why I need to show you the teeny tiny Cakesicle sticks twice. I'll link them down below for you. So if you want the teeny tiny ones, you can absolutely get those. I say absolutely too much as well, so if you're new here, just deal with it. So yeah, we're just wiping these moulds out again, like I said before, and then we're going to get started. We're going to start with the cake hearts and then do the Cakesicles. If you're new, maybe, and you haven't done the Cakesicles before, maybe just try, or maybe you haven't worked with this kind of mould before, just do the cake hearts because they're much easier. They're really easy to get out the mould. The Cakesicles are a bit finicky. And I broke so many learning how to make them. So we're starting off with the blush. This is coloured with Colour Mill blush. We've decanted it into another pot here. I haven't shown it on the screen, but I've decanted it into another pot, which I have slightly warmed through in some warm water and then dried off. Make sure there's no water in it, so that it doesn't make the chocolate set quickly while it's in the bowl. Especially if you're using candy melts, they set really quickly. Okay, so I'm using my super duper handy dandy ball tool to roll it around the inside of the mould. It fits perfectly in these moulds, in all the shapes and crevices, and it makes sure you get a really even spread of chocolate around the mould. I like to do it twice because as you're doing it, the chocolate does start to firm up a little bit, and then you can get a bit more on the sides and such. And then we're scraping off with a warm spatula. The warm spatula honestly is a game changer. I've been told by so many people, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe we've never done this before. And then we're moving on to one of the other colours. So this is coloured with the Colour Mill Rose. Obviously we didn't need that bit that we just sploshed over the side. We're going for a marble here. So I've plopped some rose in. It doesn't matter what it looks like when it goes in. And then I'm adding in the blush on top and just mixing it all together inside the mould. The more you mix it, the softer the effect of the marble will be. The less you mix it, the stronger the marble will be, basically. Some people like to mix it in the pot with the two colours and then put it in, but I find, especially if you're doing quite a few, that it mixes all together and then you just end up with a really random mix of colour that is actually not marbled at all. Whereas if you do it in the mould, you do get this nicer effect. And then we're going for 2 of the solid rose as well. Obviously you can mix and match and do however you'd like to do them, whichever order you'd like. If you only like one of the designs, only do one of them. But this is how I went for it, because as I said at the beginning, I really wanted to do a nice mix of all the colours that the client had requested, and really go for a nice streamlined but also mixed up kind of, can it be streamlined and mixed up? I don't know, but we're going for it. Anyway, so I really wanted to blend all the design together and really bring the whole set together because they were all being displayed together. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Cakesicles. As I said, these are a bit more finicky. If you don't have much experience with them, you've really got to give them your attention and be careful with them and gentle with them and love them like a little baby, sort of. But, you know, maybe not like a baby. But, you know, you've really got to be careful with these guys. They will break the first time you do them. If you get them out the mould, all 4 out the mould first time, then you need some sort of Guinness prize or something, because seriously, they're just horrid things when you first start doing them and it's really frustrating. But stick with it because it does get easier, I promise. And I'm going to try and help you on your way. So we're popping the sticks in while the chocolate is still wet. Some people I see pop it in once it's set. I find that cracks the chocolate. I don't like to do it that way. I like to pop my sticks in now, and I'm sealing them in as well so that we get a nice firm stick in there, and when you come to take them out you don't end up leaving half the chocolate behind either. I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I really like everything to look as neat as it possibly can. I'm just using another spare Cakesicle sticks to apply that chocolate to the base of the stick there. And then what we're going to do is wipe across it with the warm spatula again. I'm just popping those back into that warm pot in between. I'm just editing wiping it because you don't want to see me wipe a spatula every 5 seconds. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to place, I use a knife, so something heavy onto the sticks. And did you see how they lifted up? That stops them from leaning downwards, and so you don't end up with sticks on an angle when you take them out the fridge. Okay, so they've gone into the fridge now along with the cake hearts. 5 to 10 minutes is all they should take to set, but make sure they are firmly set, but try not to leave them in any longer than they need. I know that's a really random, you know, they only need this much, but don't leave them in for that long. But it's obviously depends what chocolate you're using, what temperature it was when you used it. So it's really hard to say, oh, it will definitely take this long, because it's so many different factors. You do just get used to using your chocolate and how long it takes, and how cold your fridge is as well can affect it. The outside temperature will affect it. So many different things. But generally I find 10 minutes is enough. Generally don't need any longer than 10 minutes. Okay, so we've gone for 2 solid rose ones there. And then on the end, we're going for the marble. So we've got the rose in there, and then we're popping the blush on top. And again, we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with the cake hearts. And we're going to use our handy dandy rolly ball tool to smooth it out. Again, the harder you press, the softer the marble will be. The less you press, the harsher. No? I don't know. I don't know who I'm talking to when I do this, you know. Sometimes I just go off on tangents. And if you've been here a while, you'll know that. You'll know I ramble. So we are popping our sticks on again. I'm using the coordinating colour for each one. You can't really see this, so it doesn't matter too much if you've not got any blush. You could use the rose and vice versa. It doesn't really matter. The same applies for the backs as well when you come to do those. I had every colour at this point to hand, so it didn't matter too much. Again, make sure you're using your fat dispersible colours. Colour Mill or Sugar Flare do some, though the Sugar Flare are mostly primary colours. You can use powders, but it will cause it to seize slightly. So if that's all you've got to hand, you could use them, but you would need to add in some Trex or Crisco or vegetable oil. So we've got some vanilla cake here that I've wizened up in a food processor. I didn't film that bit. I don't know why. Maybe I forgot to turn the camera on, or I don't know. I've got no excuse. I don't know. I'm sorry. But we've just whizzed it up in a food processor. and then turned it to crumbs. You can do it by hand if you want to, or you can use your freestanding mixer if you've got one of those. And I'm adding in some vanilla buttercream. We are not adding a lot in, and don't be tempted when you get to sort of this stage now where, oh, it looks like it's all mixed in, I need more. You don't add any more. I'm shouting. You don't need any more. You need to really push that crumb into the mix you've already got. Don't add loads because it'll make it greasy. They won't be very nice to eat. Some recipes you can get away. Sometimes I don't even need to put any buttercream in, but the buttercream, the sugar in the buttercream will also help as a preservative. And you can see this is what it should look like at the end. It should resemble Play-Doh. I use that reference all the time, but it is a really handy reference. And so I'm just doing the roll test here. If you can roll it into a ball and it doesn't crack, look, there you go, perfect ball. Should only crack when it's pressed really hard, and the thumbs up. So we've got the Cakesicle ones out of the fridge now. They've set, and what I'm doing here is quite hard to see. I understand that, and I'm really sorry. But what I'm doing is I'm using a paintbrush, clean, one that I only use for food, to apply to the sides, just to make sure that the sides aren't thin. This is something I didn't always do when I first started, and occasionally I would end up with a slightly see-through side, or it wouldn't have enough strength, and when I took it out of the mould it would crack. So this is just a little hint I sort of picked up for myself that I found helped as I have learned to make these, and not master them, but certainly get a lot better than I was when I first started. So we're going to do that on both moulds using the coordinating colours again. So the blush on the blush, the rose on the rose, and making sure that we get those sides nice and thick. Well, not thick, but making sure they're not see-through, basically. This is especially important if you're using a pale chocolate but dark filling. So if you're using a chocolate cake or something like that on the inside, but you're using white Cakesicles or pale, like the blush, it'll show through. There's no other way of, you're going to have to do the sides. Try it without. But if you're using a dark filling, or vice versa, if you're using a light filling on a dark outer, you'll need to firm up the sides. Okay, you don't need to do that with the cake hearts though. They don't have as harsh a side on them as the Cakesicles do. So obviously gravity automatically wants to make the chocolate sit in the bottom and the sides end up thinner. As far as your fillings go, I get asked this quite a lot, both on here and on TikTok. Links down below. Shameless plug. If you can use different things, you can absolutely use different things. I mostly use a cake and buttercream combination filling. Sometimes I use a ganache. A chocolate cake with a milk chocolate ganache makes a really gorgeous fudgy filling. So it's really, really nice. Or you can use brownies, but just take off the edges. You wouldn't need to mix buttercream into a brownie. It would just go in as is. Cut it to shape, cut it to size, or mould it. It's up to you. Mousses, all sorts. Always try to think of other things. You could use Rice Krispie treats on the inside if you wanted to. Just always making sure that when you do your fillings, no matter what you're using, you need to leave 1 to 2 millimeters gap at the top of each one. So where you're putting the filling in now, I'm pulling it away from the edges with my fingers. I am also using gloves. I don't use gloves for most of my work because it's far more sanitary to use hands that are washed regularly than it is to wear gloves. The expectation of when you're wearing gloves is, oh, my hands are clean because I'm wearing gloves, and you don't wash your hands or change your gloves often enough. It's also very wasteful in terms of the environment and things like that to keep swapping gloves when you're not in a healthcare profession or something like that. So clean hands is absolutely the way to go. The only reason I wear them for doing this part is because it's messy and it goes up your fingernails and things like that. So here we are. I'm just showing you the gap that I've left at the top. You can see 1 to 2 millimeters to make sure we get a smooth back and a well-sealed Cakesicle or cake heart. Goes for the Cakesicles as well. Do exactly the same. You need to leave that little gap so that you get a good seal, and that way they will last much longer. I would also advise, I get asked quite a lot, oh, how long do they last? Personally, mine last about a week from making them. And even beyond there, to be honest, my household, I don't eat them, but my household will eat them 10 days, 2 weeks after and still say they're fine. But I usually do them a couple of days before they're being picked up, and then I give the client 5 days on the best before on the label. But obviously it's a best before because they don't contain, they're shelf stable, so they're absolutely fine to be left out at room temperature. So I just advise, eat them before this date and you'll be okay. But what I would say is that is based on my recipe and my way of doing it. So I would also conduct your own trials, especially if you're selling them and they're not just for personal use. So if you're selling them, you really, really need to be conducting your own trials and checking. So make a bunch of them, make 10, eat one a day and see how they fare. Cut them in half, check them for anything, and eat one a day and see how they are across those 10 days and see where you're at with how long you think they are best for. And then you can advise your clients accurately. That would always be my opinion. So once we've popped all the fillings into the moulds, we're going to pop the backs on. Again, using the melted chocolate. We're going to match the colours to each one. So with the marbled ones on the end here, I'm going to do the blush because they're mostly blush with the darker marble. But then for the rose, I'll use the rose back. And then obviously the other plain ones, I'll just use the blush. But I would say if you don't have enough colour left, you can get away with using a different colour on the back as long as it's not massively different. So if I hadn't got enough rose, I could have used a bit of the blush on the back and you can't see it when they're done. So don't worry or go melting down some more chocolate if that's all you've got left. Just use what you've got as long as it's, like I say, not a massively different colour or anything like that. And then we're just using that warm spatula to smooth it across. And then what we'll do is pop them back in the fridge. They'll only take about 5 minutes from this point because the mould's already cold. So that helps bring the temperature down. It's also only a thin layer of chocolate on the back. And again, we don't want to leave them too long. Try not to pop them in the fridge and then wander off and do something else and forget about them. Although it's not going to ruin them, it's going to cause them to sweat. Sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought because can we just say a prayer for my absolutely amazing filming skills here. I've got this my phone up on the tripod and I forgot to check the screen as I'm doing this. I'll probably write it in a minute for you, but yeah, I'm really teaching you loads, aren't I, here, where you can see half the mould. Seriously, I need to start paying more attention to the screen. So yeah, don't leave them in the fridge for too long because once you take them out, they'll sweat. Once they sweat, you can't decorate them then until they've come back down to room temperature, because if you're trying to apply glues or another bit of chocolate or paints or anything, the sweat is just going to ruin it. So it really is, especially if you're in a time crunch or anything, you really want to be making these all in one. Then don't leave them in too long because you don't want them to sweat, but equally don't take them out before they're ready. I know that sounds like really, just got to get it just right, but they're not going to sweat if you leave them in for 20 minutes. But if you leave them in for an hour or 2 hours, they are absolutely going to sweat when you bring them back out, especially if the temperature you're bringing them back out to is far warmer. So you really don't want to be doing that. So it is fairly important to get it just right. As best you can, but again, just don't overleave them. Overleave them? I'm just making up words now. What's wrong with me? Anyway, on to the Cakesicles. So with Cakesicles, as I was saying, if you're a beginner, you're really going to have to be patient with your skill on these and really learn how to make them. I'm trying my best, but there's only so much that can be taught through a screen. And please drop any questions down below for me and I will try my best to answer them. I always try to answer as quick as I can, but obviously bear in mind time zones. I am in the UK. We're on British summertime at the minute. And we'll be on GMT at the end of October. But yeah, I really do try my best to answer as quickly as possible once I've had the notification. But if you're in the US, obviously you're going to be on a different time zone. And I've gone off on a tangent again and I'm really sorry. So with the Cakesicles, what you need to do is, you can see in the video, I'm being more gentle. I'm not forcing it in there. You need to hold on to that stick. And again, that's another reason we place something heavy on the stick while we do it. While it's setting, because then I'm now putting pressure on that stick and it's resting against the mould, against the support for the stick on the mould. I have linked my mould, by the way, because this is one of my favourite moulds. Some of them have got a weird shape. I really like this one because it's a perfectly ovally squoval. No, because it's not square. It's rectangle and oval. Roval. It's a roval. Making up words for you. That's how much I love you guys. So yeah, we really just need to be careful, and we're just pushing it down the side of the stick, making sure we fill the mould accurately and that it's not going to be loose inside or anything. That'll cause air bubbles. Obviously, if you're trapping air in there, that's a way that mould could get in, etc. Even though it's obviously quite sugary in there and would find it hard to get traction. Does mould get traction? If there's any mould experts out there and you want to let me know. So we're popping the, I'm so sorry. Do you know, if you're new here and you're just like, what have I come across? Seriously, I'd love to call myself a professional, but at this point, I'm really not sure. Anywho, people seem to like my rambling. So, you know, I get a lot of comments, oh, I love the rambling, it's like making it with a bestie. So, you know, welcome along. If you like rambling and you don't want to feel like I'm shouting at you or anything, then, you know, this is a relaxed atmosphere and I will ramble. And I will go off on tangents, and I'm super sorry. They're off into the fridge now. So let's crack on. We've got the second set here. We're going to do exactly the same again. I'm not going to bore you and ramble. I'm going to speed this bit up. And if I was like, had any technical ability whatsoever, I'd put you some music here, but I don't, so you just have to listen to me. So there you go. There's the super speedy bit, and now it's time to take them out the fridge, because we didn't leave them in too long, did we? No. I'm going to take them out the moulds. So the cake hearts are super easy to take out the moulds. I, as you could see at the beginning there, pull the mould slightly away from the edges, and then literally just pop them from behind. I normally pop them on the side of where the top of the heart is, and then push it towards, and then pull it out of the mould towards the point rather than vice versa. Although I knew that would happen. I knew I was going to do it the exact opposite way, just as I said that. So, you know, really please listen to me and follow what I do, because I'm super good at this and I do everything the same every time and it always works. I'm so stupid. Anywho, look how shiny they are. Ooh, shine. Insert super shiny, glistening music here. Yeah? Any technical people want to help me? Please? Anywho, there's a tiny little air bubble on that one, as you can see, but don't worry, we'll cover that when we come to decorate them. So these are the making of the devil. And you can see here, this is shot in real time. I haven't sped this bit up. None of this video, other than that other little bit, is sped up. And you can see how much more careful I'm being. So pulling it away very, very gently, because if you're too rough when you pull it away from the edge, the side of the chocolate will come away from the main body. Loosening it on the bottom, and then I sort of push from underneath as I push the stick through the hole at the same time. If that makes any sense. You can see how gentle I'm being, pulling it away at the top there. I've got my other part of my hand pushing from underneath as well. Oh, look how cute the marble is. It looks so nice. Sorry, distracted again. Yeah, so super, super careful with these. And we're just popping them to one side, and we're going to decorate them in a minute as well. So here's the second set, just unmoulding again. This is the all blush set, and you can see these actually came out super neat on the back. I think it's because I only had one colour to do, so I could be a bit more rough with how I scraped away the chocolate, whereas the other ones were two different colours. So I'm just popping them to one side, like I say, because we're going to decorate in a minute. I have linked everything that I've used, or as close to, so if it's not exactly the same, I'll link it down below. What I will say is the sprinkle mix that I'm using isn't a sprinkle mix, I made it. So it's a mix of several different ones. I will link them all for you, and you just sort of have to gauge how much of each you need in it. So I really love this sprinkle mix. It goes really, really nice with any kind of pink. Okay, and this is a nice pearl effect luster dust. I love this one. You can normally get this one on the affiliate website that I use. I'm sorry, I completely forgot then. So I'll link that one for you. And a super soft brush. I only ever use this brush for this colour. I try to avoid mixing colours onto them. So the ones that I use on dry dusts, I do try to just have a dust purely for that one and that one only. And now we're mixing up some rose gold luster with some rejuvenator. If you're in America, I know you don't use rejuvenator much. Everclear, I think, is one that gets used quite a lot to mix with lusters. And I'm mixing, I tried to show you as best I could, I'm mixing it to quite a thick consistency. Okay, and then we're splattering it on. The bigger brush you use, the bigger splats you'll get. If you tap it first before you use it on your items, you'll get a finer sprinkle than if you go straight in. And obviously the lighter you tap, the lighter the sprinkle as well. The thicker it is, the lighter the sprinkle, the thinner, the heavier the sprinkle. You'll get more of a splat with a thinner consistency, and more of a sprinkle and light, as you can see, quite little dots here because I've used quite a heavy consistency. And then I'm just going in again and putting a bit more on. Obviously you can build it up or you can go straight in. I've used a thinner brush for these ones as well. Again, just personal preference. And now we're using the rose. I'm just going for the corner on this one, and then I'm using my homemade sprinkle mix in my handy dandy tray. This tray's got a little opening at the end so that you can pour it straight back into your pot without making a big fat mess. And then I'm using another set of rose gold sprinkles. I actually made those myself. I have explained how to make them in previous videos, but if you've not been here before, then basically it's really, really easy. I throw a load of different sprinkles into a Ziploc bag. Doesn't need to be any type of bag. They don't even need to all be the same colour to start with either. I throw maybe a teaspoon of luster dust into the bag, depending on what colour I want. And then I put a tiny bit of rejuvenator or clear alcohol into the bag. And I shake the bag around vigorously for a few minutes. And woohoo! We get coloured sprinkles. So if I'm in a bind and I need a certain colour, or I want my sprinkles to match my paint, which was my thing here. I wanted the paint and the sprinkles to match. And rose gold is a colour that you quite often find they don't all match. Some are more copper, some are more pink, some are more gold. It's not a same across the board, whereas you order gold from a couple of different places, generally they're pretty similar. Rose gold is just really open to interpretation, so I wanted my paint to match, so I made the sprinkles myself. And so you can see here, I'm not using the homemade mix, I'm just using the rose gold sprinkles on that one. It's got a mix of teeny tiny 1mm pearls, confetti pieces, as they're called here in the UK, and then 5mm balls as well. And again, like I say, I just made it myself. It's a really super easy way to make custom coloured sprinkles that you need. It will rub off on things, that's the only thing I would say, whereas obviously the store-bought ones don't because of the way they're done, it's different. But it's a really good way if you're in a bind or you need it in a rush or you need a specific colour. Okay, and we're going on to the all rose coloured one now, and I went all over for this one. And I'm like, oh, how do I pick it up? Because I've done it all over and now I can't pick it up. So I left it where it was till it dried. And we're going for the rose gold sprinkles on there as well, which looks super cute. So I really liked, like I say, I loved this set. I love how it came out. It's one of my favourites that I've done, I think, and the pictures came out really nicely as well. If you're new to caking and stuff, I highly recommend getting a DSLR, can never say that properly, camera. I take all of my pictures on my DSLR and then upload them to my Mac. Play about with the light settings sometimes if it's a rubbish time of year or a really overcast day here in the UK. Obviously we get a lot of those, and there's only so much you can do with the settings on the camera before you get overexposure and things like that. So then I'll edit them just with the software that came with the Mac on the Photos app. I'll edit them on there, get rid of any blemishes or any orbs or anything like that appear in the photos, and get some really cute photos. I'm not going to do a tutorial on how I take my photos because I don't think I'm good enough to advise you on how to do that. I'm sure there are people out there that can. I will say one thing, I did teach myself via YouTube University how to shoot in manual mode on my DSLR, and that did make a big difference. So again, we're going in with my super soft brush and the pearl luster, and we're just going to do it on a couple of them. We're not doing it on all of them. And obviously, once again, my filming skills let me down. Why am I going off to... I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm really sorry. in the middle. Just keep it in the middle. I even, you know, when I set everything up, I even check where my edges are on my camera for where I can film to and where I can't. And still, I manage to forget myself and do silly things like that. So again, trying to create that streamlined look where they all match each other, but not matchy. Using the splatter on the marble and the blush ones, but not on the rose ones. And the blush ones, I'll do the brush effect on them, which is one of my favourite effects to do. And then we're going to do some chocolate and sprinkles and stuff like we did on the other ones as well. So we'll start with the rose ones and going all over on this one using the blush instead of the same colour. Again, just to create that really seamless blend between all of the different styles and the colours and such, and using my little custom blend that I made of the sprinkles. It's got all sorts in there. It's about a mix of about 4 or 5 different sprinkles that I just threw together one day, and I was like, oh, these really work, I really like it. And then I've also tossed in some of my homemade rose gold ones as well, because why not? And I don't know what we're waiting for now. I did edit this video before we did it. I don't know. Oh, some super good filming again. Oh my God, I despair with myself. So anyway, we'll just go for the top half on that one, because, you know, why not? Create a nice little blend with all the different designs, but still keeping with the blush colour. It is blush, it's not white. I know it looks a little bit white there. I think it's just the lighting. I've got my ring light on above me. And also because the rose is quite strong, but in the pictures at the end you'll see it is definitely the blush and not white. And then moving on to all the blush ones. Now this is where we're going to do the brush stroke effect. And I'm using this fluffy brush, which seems a bit bizarre, but it gives a really nice effect. I'll link it down below for you. It's a Wilton brush. And then we're trying to get like a scoop at the beginning and then a brush, because it's brush effect. So a swoop or a smoosh. It's not a smoosh, it's a swoosh. And I've gone off on a tangent again. So yeah, going with the rose gold onto the rose for these ones. And I did all the same across the board for all 4 of these. I decided I just wanted to keep these all 4 the same and not mix and match any colours or anything. And I really loved how these came out. And I do this effect quite a lot as well. And it seems really complicated, but actually it's so simple. You just got to, I would say, be really careful and thorough when cleaning your brushes out when you've used them with chocolate. You've really got to make sure you get up in there and get them really clean. Otherwise they'll dry and they'll be all like hard, and you won't be able to use them for other things either. So all 4 the same with my little custom mix of rose gold. You could absolutely use some other rose gold sprinkles, or gold would look nice as well. I liked the look with the blush and the rose. I'll try and link some similar sprinkles for you if I can. I always do that after I've done the voiceover, so I don't know why. And if you are still here, thank you for listening to me ramble for 35 minutes, because that's ages. And to be honest, when I made this video and I was like, oh my God, it's 35 minutes long, how am I going to talk for that long? Actually, I've managed it really easy, and I realised that I just talked too much. So thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment, follow me on the socials, and if you need the products, use my affiliate links because they pay me and that helps me make more videos. So thank you very much. Here are my super cute photos of them, and please stick around for the end because I'll list my socials for you. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you and all the likes and the comments and all stuff like that. And if you want to leave a dislike, just go away because that's not very nice.